over everything, emotional intelligence over everything. I am Dawn Morris, and I am excited to have this program. The World Class Training Institute is an organization that maximizes human capital through the delivery of professional and leadership development training workshops. I've always loved training. I've been blessed with the opportunity to do it for so many years. You want to be a pinnacle leader. Becoming more emotionally intelligent is going to set you on the road to that. I have to meet people where they are and not try to say just because I'm doing it, they automatically can do it. The area that emotional intelligence helps with is called your blind spot. It helps you to strengthen your self-awareness.
I just found the session really helpful. It was my favorite session of the conference.
My name is Derek Potter, and I am the Director of Business Operations for Group F of Tennessee. I'm here to talk about the world-class training, leadership training provided by Don to my staff. The training has been extremely helpful for our group of folks, mainly because a lot of principles used in traditional business oftentimes lacking when it comes to social service because the focus is about the people. We don't think about the people that lead those people, lead departments and positions in which manage the day-to-day operations. And so for us to have an opportunity to train with Don in this training and get the particular skill sets needed to become better leaders, motivators, supervisors, and even teammates was inspirational for us, and we enjoyed the training.
Welcome everybody to the Leaders Lounge. This is Dawn Morris, and of course I am your host and the curator for the Leaders Lounge. We have an exciting month for you all. We are focusing in on leading ladies. So over the next several weeks, we are going to highlight some ladies who are doing great things in their respective fields and in the cities in which they live. This program today is super special because I have a young lady who is an instructor in medicine within the Vanderbilt University School of Medicine at Vanderbilt University Medical Center. Her name is Qutina Waton, Dr. Qutina Waton, and she received her bachelor's degree from Lane College in Jackson, Tennessee. And then she furthered her education by getting a master's and doctorate of education at Capella University. In terms of her work career, Dr. Watson was previously the interim assistant vice president for strategic retention and student success at Wiley College. That is a huge title in Marshall, Texas. And in her role as interim assistant vice president, she provided leadership and oversight for efforts in retention, college access, and academic success. Her collaboration with senior leadership peers and faculty allowed for a strategic plan focused on closing achievement gaps within the institution. Notably, Dr. Watson was a lead member for the institution's retention and accreditation efforts to conduct training and insight with the overall mission of the college at the forefront. In addition to all of her credentials, I met Dr. Watson at a recent HBCU college fair, and her spirit and her demeanor were just so remarkable to me. She just had a warm, kind spirit. And sometimes you don't find that with people who have a high level of academia, so to speak. And so because of that, when we were thinking about doing this series, I wanted to bring her on because she shared some things with me. And again, her attitude and her demeanor was just one that I think we should all mirror. So today I have joining me, Dr. Qutina Waton. How are you?
I'm great, Dawn. How are you?
I am wonderful. It's so great to have you. I am so glad you were able to take time.
Of course, for you, anything.
Oh, you are so sweet. You are so sweet. So, Dr. Watson, I was just sharing with our audience a little bit about your educational background, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. And of course, this particular series is about striving through stress because you shared with me some things that happened in your career that you had to work through and how that led you to the position that you have right now at Vanderbilt University. So I'm going to start by going back a little bit and talking about kind of your college career. You first being at Lane College and then going to get your doctorate. So I'm going to ask you a question. I don't think I asked you the last time. First, what made you want to pursue a doctorate in education?
It's a really good question, Don. So, one, I was working in early childhood education. So, I've been on the spectrum of education for over a decade. The only thing I haven't done is the middle, which is K through 12. But when I was in the early childhood education spectrum, there were individuals in that organization who said that I didn't have enough experience in education. I was not well versed, even though I had over 6 years of experience in
Really?
that position. And so for me, I'm always the type that says, you know what, I'm going to show you better than I can tell you. So I decided to get a doctorate of education. How higher could you go when you're talking about you don't have experience in education by getting a doctorate of education, right?
Exactly.
That's how I started. But my students at Wiley College are the reason why I decided to finish and keep it going because I wanted them to see someone that looked like them with this type of education that had, that could reach them on the same level. And know that I could make a difference in the world and I could sit in rooms that I could create the table for them to come and then them to feel more empowered to create their own table and bring their own people along. So, yeah, it started one way, but it finished some totally different for
Isn't
sure.
that interesting? I love that. So it was first kind of a career move to make sure that they knew you had the credentials, but then it became something where you used it to add fuel to the people who were under you and kind of lift as you climbed, so that they knew, hey, you know what? You can do this too. And this is what this affords you by being able to complete your education.
And Don, honestly, I'm happy that it worked out that way because I really was getting the doctorate for the wrong reasons. I heard you when
Mhm.
you introduced me, so I appreciate the words that you said, where you stated that most people who have high, a terminal degree
Right.
doesn't always act as if, they're just one of the girls. And I feel like if I would have continued on the path of trying to prove somebody wrong because they felt I wasn't good enough for the position that I had, I think my mindset would have stayed in that, even though people that know me know that's not how I am. But I would have been, as the young folks say, clout chasing because I
Hmm.
wanted to prove that I was way more than what they saw of me. And I wouldn't have been true to being Dr. Watson. Even now, family and friends try to call me that. I'm like, no, I'm just Tina.
Right.
Or colleagues, I'm just Cutina. There are moments
Right.
I do to be considered Dr. Watson, but I realized with my students, like you don't have to put that title out there for people to know that you're really worth more than what that title even states. So,
Isn't oh, you just said a whole mouthful there. That is so, you did. You said a mouthful in a couple of ways. Number one, I've been that person too, especially in that corporate realm where I'm trying to run after this and run after that. And I'll never forget my last corporate job. Girl, I had worked and worked and worked and worked, and they had a position that was at the next level. I just knew because I had gotten a uh, what was it, consistently exceeds on my review that I was going to be
mhm,
that person. And they went and pulled somebody from the outside who, oh, by the way, didn't look like me. And
mhm,
so it was like,
yep,
and I'm feeling like I'm running and running and running and running this hamster wheel trying to prove to them. But we have to always know. And I had to sit in my own truth. I was like, no, I'm good whether they say I'm good or not.
right,
And
yep,
that's what you're saying. You're like, you had to realize whether they put the endorsement stamp on you or not, the creator already made you enough, you
man,
know?
amen,
So
amen.
anything you add to it is just a bonus because you walk in the door being enough. So,
Exactly. Exactly. And you
so
have to have that mindset when you're in a
right.
leadership role that,
Hmm.
sometimes you have to definitely take yourself out of it and remember the reason why you're doing what you're doing. It
Yes,
makes it so much worth it. But,
that's right.
I think that journey just kept me very much grounded. I'm always humble in most situations, but I think for that moment, if I would have stayed at that company, you and I wouldn't be talking right now because
Right.
I probably would have been on a totally different track at that point.
Right. Exactly. Yep. That's true. That's true. So thank them for pushing you. But you know what?
Yeah.
You were already enough. You came in the door enough.
Amen. Amen.
Yes, yes. So then moving past that, you worked at Wiley College,
Yep.
right? Did I have that right? Yeah, Wiley College. And you became what assistant vice president, interim assistant vice president for strategic retention and student success. And so I know you shared with me a little bit about how you came into that role from another position, and they said, hey, you know what, you're up next. And so I want you to
Yeah.
first talk to me about what that looked like when you were promoted into the role of interim assistant vice president, and then like kind of what were your first thoughts being thrust into that position?
So when I got to Wiley, after I left that early childhood education arena, I started out as a learning center coordinator. Don, I had no idea how to run a tutoring center. But thankfully for my group of friends that were at Wiley with me, we call them Wiley 2.0, I was able to really kind of join together with other like-minded individuals to be able to really tap into my potential that was there. And within 10 months, one of my other supervisors saw something in me and she wanted me to run the center, the full
Okay.
center. So then
Okay.
I started to be over the tutoring center and the advising center. Had a team of about 5 or 6 individuals. It was going great. Then the pandemic hit, right? So then
Okay.
we had to downsize. And from there, I was only able to really, it was between me and a director. We worked together and then the director left. Or assistant director left. So then it was just me as the director. And so I was in school trying to finish my dissertation. That was totally crazy. Um,
Okay.
and then I finished, right? I defended June of 2021. So it's coming up on my 2-year anniversary.
Nice.
And
Congratulations.
thank you.
Wow,
I know it
that's
doesn't even
fantastic.
feel like it, right?
I know.
And so I remember being in my office, and the president of Wiley came into my office and said, hey, you're about to be promoted, and walked out. I was like, what? And so I walked out of my office into the bigger space, and there were about 30 to 40 of my colleagues that had been taking a tour with the president of the college just to see like the updates, new changes that were going to be made on campus. And as he's talking, he was like, yeah, and Dr. Watson has been promoted to interim assistant vice president. And I was standing in my doorway, shocked, like, wait, what? You just said it. Like, I didn't even have a chance to say, sure, I'll take it. No, I won't take it.
Right.
Um, and one of my team members, I have been trying to get promoted for him as an assistant director. Um, and in that moment, he announced him as the assistant director. So it felt good that, my efforts
He
kind of
was
worked out for
right.
him.
Okay. Yep.
But I was like, I didn't ask for this. I didn't want
Right.
this. I'm like,
Before
oh,
you even say that too, so was there another assistant vice president who had left, or there wasn't
no,
even that job before?
nope.
Okay.
So what happened is the president wanted to change the culture of the college, of the campus. And he had about, I think maybe at the time, 5 positions that he was going to start filling.
Okay.
Um, and apparently I didn't go in for an interview for this position. Let's be very clear. Um, I finished my degree, and I don't know if they felt like I was a great asset to the team and they just wanted to keep me, because I had always been told, if you're not promoted once you get your degree, then you should start looking elsewhere, because companies will start to think that you're not marketable, you're not
Okay.
promotable, you're
Right.
not a good asset for the team if you're not promoted when you get a terminal degree. And so it just kind of worked out in that way. And my supervisor, who is still my mentor to this day, he really kind of helped to launch me in that direction. But to be honest, that's not what I really wanted to do, because I had never done that before. I never.
Okay. Wow. So you didn't even really know what the job entailed before you got the position. But see, what I love about that is that I tell people, and I was sharing with someone just recently, how when people think I can't do that job because I don't have experience in that job, I told the person, I wish I could remember who I was sharing that with. I said, President Trump became president of the United States and had no political experience. So never think that because you've never done it, you can't do it. There may be a learning curve, and not to say he was the best in the world, but it's that mindset that I can do this, and sometimes back to us not even knowing that we're enough. They saw in you that you could be the assistant vice president. You may have thought, and you can share with me, eventually you would be that person, but you weren't thinking that was going to be your lot today, but they said she's the one. So
it's so funny you say that, Don, because I read an article somewhere where it said that women are more likely to not apply for a job based on the qualifications, because we'll say, oh, we don't have 100% of the qualifications, so we will not apply. And men, they don't care if they only have 40%. They will go after it because they say to themselves, I mean, it's just, it's just a job application.
That's right.
I either get it or I won't get it. But for me, I can do this job regardless if I have all the qualifications or not. I'm still going to apply. So I think as women, we have to start having that confidence in ourselves to say, even if we only have 60-70% of the qualifications,
that's right,
you can learn the other 30, right?
That's right. Exactly.
And even if you look at the things you've done in life, that other 30% could be stashed away somewhere that you didn't even know, like you have the skill. It's just not written in a way in which you can say, yes, I've done these other things that make up the 30%. So
that's so true. That's so true. We have to really, it's transferable skills is what they call the kind of a textbook term for that. Yes, you may not have the actual line item verbiage that the job is requiring, but if you tap into something that you've often done in your history, you have the transferable skill to do that work. Or you may still have the critical thought processes that can walk you through that. So yes, you're right. As ladies, we do have to stop cheating ourselves out of opportunities because we, according to a job requirement, haven't dotted every I and crossed every T.
Yep.
And then this attitude too. A lot of times, like I tell people when I teach interview and I say, what we're looking for when we actually sit down and have a job interview is, what is this person's personality like? What is their ability to work with the team like? And yes, you have to prove up what's on your resume, but it's largely the success of a job. And I heard, I think it's Warren Bennis who talks about EQ. And while IQ can get you in the door, emotional intelligence, your emotional quotient is what keeps you there. So we have to, the more you can demonstrate your ability to work well with others and to have emotional intelligence and adaptive intelligence, the more likely an employer will be like, okay, you know what, this person may not have Excel, Word, PowerPoint, every public speaking skill that we have on the list, but there are some other intrinsic skills that this person has that we can use.
Definitely.
They won't get on our nerves. Yes. So look, before we go forward, I have to show this commercial right quick. So just stay right there. And on the other side of this, we're going to talk about some of the stress that you went through, because we're talking about striving through stress and how you were able to overcome that. So guys, this is Juneteenth. This is the month of freedom. We are focusing on ladies during this month, leading ladies. And to do that, we also are selling t-shirts, which I want to show you, freedom tees. So I got to show this commercial right quick. And on the other side, we're going to talk to Qutina, Dr. Waton, a little more about how she strives through stress. Just hold on just a minute.
flames. Freedom, freedom, I can't move. Freedom, cut me loose. Yeah. Freedom, freedom, where are you? 'Cause I need freedom too. I break chains all by myself. Won't let my freedom run in hell. Hey, I'ma keep running 'cause a winner don't quit on themselves.
Hey, and we are back. So, this is the first year actually that we usually do a summer t-shirt, but this is the first year we're doing June t-shirt. So, as a woman-owned African-American business, we thought it would be prudent to do that this year. So, that's our little commercial for that. Audience, avail yourselves. These are only going to be on sale until June the 9th, because in order to get them out, we have to finish our orders then. So, we are back with our Dr. Qutina J. Watson, an instructor in medicine within Vanderbilt University School of Medicine. So I'm going to talk a little bit about your current role, but before we do that, I want to get back to the audience about now. You have the role, you're launched, you're in there, and you and I had a conversation about some of the challenges and the stressful times that you had, and how you were able to manage that, or when you said, because I remember you said, you know what, you got to a point where you said enough. And so kind of take us through what that was like, why you had some challenges, and what made you say, you know what, it's time to do something different.
So I had gotten the role basically June, July of 21.
No.
And it was crazy, right? So the title says strategic retention and student success. If you chop that in half, I had the student success part. I had the team for that. I had a director. I had an assistant director. There was a team of advisors. We were ready to rock and roll on the student success side. We had been doing it, so we knew what to do. But the strategic retention, there was no team. There was a committee, and the committee was comprised of individuals on the campus. But keep in mind, they already had their 9-to-5 job, right?
Okay.
A committee, you are just coming in as a committee member and you're doing a little bit of work, but you're not supposed to really put the whole thing on your back.
Right.
That's for, the chair of that committee or whoever is under that division that's really supposed to lead the effort. So I did the best that I could do, right? I think within about a month, I did well over a month to 2 months. I did well over 1,000+ minutes of talking to the stakeholders at the college. So that would be students, faculty, staff, administration, just trying to get buy-in on what they thought was needed in order to move retention forward. Because strategic retention means, hey, you have to figure out how to keep everybody on this campus. Right. So now we're talking a traditional student, somewhere that's between 18 to 22 that lives on campus. We're talking about an incarcerated student. At the time, we had something called Second Chance Pell. They gave inmates an opportunity to get a degree. We had online students, so it means they could be anywhere in the world. We had adult completion learners, so that meant they lived in another city, state, and went to a satellite campus to get instruction. So I have to figure out, I'm good at helping a freshman or a sophomore because they're still impressionable. And so I can help them kind of shape and mold. But we're talking about everybody. With no team. That's a lot of pressure that was on my shoulders that I felt, right? Because they tell you recruitment is everybody's business.
Right.
They also say retention is everybody's business. But what you find is that because people don't have the answer to what it takes to retain students, they back off.
Okay.
That's not my job.
Right.
That's not me.
Because that's kind of a sales role in some ways, right?
You really have to think outside the box. Here's what people don't realize in higher ed. I don't care if it's a HBCU. I don't care if it's a PWI. In this day and age that we live in, technology, social media, you got trendsetters, you've got influencers. College is not the thing that people are doing now. So to figure out how to retain a student, a 4-year institution, and if you add on, it's a small city, There are not a lot of blacks that were in that city. We're in East Texas. There's nothing. There was no band at the time. There's no football team. There's nothing that's drawing these students. Well, you got the Howards. I know you
Right.
are alum of Howard. You've got the
Right.
Gremlins and the Southerns, and
Right.
you've got Florida A&M. You know, you have all of these other institutions that are pulling people because you got a band. You know,
Right.
you got
Yeah. You have a name. You have
everything, right?
right. Yes.
So
Yeah.
trying to sell a student on,
Yes.
hey, you know, I can get you what you need if you just put a little bit of trust in me. That's easy to do, but as the time goes on and they're watching and they're looking at other things, they're like, we don't have that. We don't
Right.
have that. I'm not
Right.
staying, right?
Right.
So it got difficult to the point where I was tired. I would go to work. I didn't want to get up and go to work. I would figure out, you know, oh God, I got to get up again today. And I would get up. But what kept me motivated were my students, right? They didn't know it at the time, but to be very transparent, for your podcast, I was depressed.
Mm-hmm.
There were some moments I may have had a suicidal thought or two, right?
Wow.
Thank God I didn't go through with it, but
Yes.
I was just really in a bad place, right? One thing people don't understand about burnout is something that we teach in one of the courses that I do at Vanderbilt is there's a
Mm-hmm.
spectrum. If you're on one end of the spectrum, you're healthy and well, you're functioning properly, your relationships look good. If you're on the other end, you're at impairment. But right before impairment, you can have like unstable, poorly functioning relationships. Your productivity is
Mm.
horrible. You're at burnout. And most people
Interesting.
don't know they're at burnout because they're so used to survival mode. They're just
Oh,
and they're going.
right.
They're going until you stop and come out of it. You can see what it has done to you. You can see what it has done
Mm,
to you.
hmm. And in
And
some cases, probably your relationships too, because when people come home and they're mean or they're not talking to their family members or their loved ones or significant others,
yep,
what's at the heart of that probably is that
burnout.
stage that you're talking about where they're at the burnout and they don't have either enough self-awareness or either they're aware but think they can't stop, so they just keep going, and at a detriment to themselves and probably their relationships in some ways.
Yeah, like you say something because that's important, right? So I was gonna continue to go because I knew I was single, I didn't have any kids, so I don't
Right.
have another income coming in that can say, "Hey, babe, you can take off, you can take some time for yourself. That's
Right.
okay." So I was just gonna continue to go until one day I went back home to Arkansas and I was at my brother's house, one of my brothers, and I was telling him what I had gone through. He and I are really close, but I
Mhm.
never tell him like the depression that I go through. But
Okay.
something that day was like, hey, just spill the beans. And he said, Mama, Daddy, everybody will understand. Come home. And I was like, nah. He was like, I promise you. And I was like, well, I'm not going to say anything, but something told me to tell my mama that same weekend. And my mother said to me, you're coming home. And I was like,
Wow.
yeah. She was like, yeah, I would rather see my daughter living, thriving, getting better than in a pine box. And if
Ooh.
what you're saying to me is true, that means that you've kind of exhausted everything and you're at the
Yes.
end. I need you to come home. And so we agreed on a date. She wanted me to come home in May. I said, Mom, I can't do that. Let's do June 30th. And to I went back home, back to Marshall, and I told my boss, my supervisor, my mentor, hey, this is it. I'm done. And literally, Don, I felt two things. I felt a weight lift off of me, but I felt heaviness at the same time because I knew I had to tell my students that I
Mm-hmm.
would not be here when they came back for the fall. And I
Mm.
felt like there was no one on that campus that could take care of my babies the way that I could
Oh.
take care of them. So
Oh.
I came every day after I told my boss, I cried.
Oh, I remember you
Yeah,
telling me that. I know. Oh
I
my
cried.
goodness.
And my students cried. Some of them were like, well, if you're not going to be here, I'm not staying. Had to give them pep talks. Like, we really went through it because
Wow.
they were there for me when I needed them and they didn't know it. But I was
Right.
also there for them when they needed it the most. And
Right.
we just didn't know how to, I guess you could say, function without the other.
How to function without each other. Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. What you said in there, you said so much, but that last piece about how you cried every day for your students, that also speaks to character and how that job was not about a paycheck for you. That position, and what you said maybe moments ago, you said you didn't even want the job. You know, you liked being at Wiley, I'm assuming, yeah, but you were like, you didn't even want the job, but what the job gave you was so much more than a paycheck, because you cried because you were leaving your students. That
Yeah.
is amazing.
And it's funny because, um, yeah, it was so funny because once I got promoted, students
Uh-huh.
would come by my office all the time. I have an open door policy. I never close it unless a student needs to talk privately.
Okay.
But I was always in meetings, Don. I would do maybe 15 meetings a week.
All
And
day.
every time they stop by, you in another meeting again? Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm sorry. I mean, I gotta work, right?
Yes.
It was tough for sure.
That is amazing. So you got to a place where it's almost June 1, you're about to leave, and did they have somebody to replace you?
So I was a part of the interviewing process for the next person.
Okay.
But what I was also trying to do was to help my team that I still had on the student success side be successful, right?
Okay.
So I
Got you.
wanted to, one, make sure that one of the advisors was able to be promoted to an assistant director. So that
Okay. Okay.
um, and then I wanted to ensure that I empowered all of them to kind of make the moves that were necessary. So
Uh-huh.
when I left, no, that person was not necessarily in place. But
Okay.
the interviewing process had happened, and I think maybe a little bit after I left, then that individual got hired.
Okay, but it was summer anyway,
Yeah.
so they had a
Yeah.
little time. So you left. Did you immediately feel the weight lifted off of you?
Child, let me tell you what. Yes, I
Okay.
did. It's nothing like waking up that next day, like packing up all your stuff. You don't know what's about to happen to you, and you pack up and you go to bed in a different bed, one you're familiar with, because I had stayed at my brother's house plenty of times, but
Okay.
you're not at home. You're
Right.
at home.
Right.
You wake up and you say, well, what do I do today? Right? I don't have to punch into a clock just yet. I can literally take my time.
Yes.
And I was without a job down for 7 months.
Wow.
I have to give credit, of course, to God, to my
Yep.
parents, my siblings, my partners, my friends. Like, I literally have to give thanks to all of these individuals, because if not, I I wouldn't be sitting in Nashville. I wouldn't be talking to you. I might not be alive to even tell the story,
Wow.
because you just, after a while, you start to wonder, did I make the right choice? Choosing
Mhm.
myself over my students, was that really the right thing to do? I'm a very selfless person. I will
Okay.
give you
Mhm.
everything I got and then
Mhm.
figure out how to make something for myself. But to
Mhm.
choose me over everything else was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. I didn't know how to do that and be okay with that decision, because the guilt set in, right?
Right.
Um,
Okay.
no one shamed me, but the guilt of knowing, like, I can't believe I just did that and I let all of these people down, and I felt it. It was there. I felt it. So
Because that's back. I'm sorry. What were you gonna say at the
I
end?
didn't have a job for 7 months.
But that what you said is back to again the weight that women unnecessarily carry.
Yep.
We are so busy trying to pour out, pour out, pour out, pour out, pour out, and we don't know, as Lisa Nichols, one of my favorite motivational speakers, says, we have to love from actually our overflow. A lot of times we're loving from an empty cup, but
Yep.
we need to fill ourselves to overflow so that we can love from our saucers. And even in the love of taking care of people in the workplace, which of course in my book I call agape love, which is that servant leadership. In order for you to serve well, you have to be full.
Yep.
And so even if that means stepping away, and we think the world is gonna, girl, oh, you said so much. We think the world's like, oh, how am I gonna lead them? Oh, and even as parents, I mean, I used to go through that, with my son. Can I leave him? Is he gonna be okay? I remember when he was little, and I was still married to my ex at the time, and his first cousin, wanted to watch my baby, who was only like 2-3 months old, so we could go out to this like riverboat casino or something. And child, she was like, I just got my degree in education. I'm gonna be I was like, and take care of my baby. I know. But in retrospect, now what I really know about love and the marriage relationship, it's supposed to be God, him, and then the rest. Because my son would have been okay. His family and all of that. But the mother, the woman in me who feels like, oh, if I leave him and he's gonna cry because I'm not there, it's a guilt. It's a guilt that I put on myself that probably never would have shown up. Just like for you, your students, as much as they loved you, I'm sure they understood and don't love you any less because you made the decision that you needed to make by choosing you.
Well, I'll tell you this, Don. They at first they didn't. They didn't.
Okay.
But I had to say it very harshly in the sense of saying to them, would you rather come to my funeral or my wedding?
Oh.
And they said, your wedding. I said, so you're going to have to let me go.
Oh.
I'm still going to be here for you. My phone will always work. I'm available by FaceTime, text message, phone call, email, whatever you need, even driving to you. I was like, but if you don't let me do this, you're going to come to my funeral. And I think at that moment it clicked. Like, wait a minute, she's serious. She gives us tough love, but she's never been this upfront.
Yes.
I think it hit it for them because they know me. They know I give them whatever I got, and I would do for them before I do for me. So for me to do for me before them was the ultimate sacrifice that I had to make to say, if I want to see them graduate, if I want to see them get married, have babies, be successful, be the next president or whatever, the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, I have to do me first.
Yes.
In order to still be here for them. So
that's right.
They didn't get it at first. I'm telling you. They didn't get it. Someone stopped talking to me because they were really hurt. And we just had to go through it together.
Well, and that's good to know that and even if they didn't, you still did make the right choice by choosing you. Explaining to them was fantastic that you let them know. And I love the way you said that, because given those two polar opposites, there is no choice.
Yeah.
There is no choice. Except this one.
Yeah, I'm not gonna give you an easy one like, hey, do you want to come to that? No, let me give you the two extremes, happiness or sadness.
That's
because one of them you're gonna get to come and have an amazing time, and we can continue to make memories. The other one, you're just going to be remembering the memories. And that's it. It's final.
Yep.
Until we meet again. Yeah,
that's
I will be the memory. So
exactly. That's
it was helpful. It was helpful for them.
I may even have to share this with. I have another client who she works in Tennessee at one of these places, and she's stressing. And we talked just on Wednesday, yesterday, and so I was like, they're on break, but they're about to go back to their session, and so she said, I said, when do they start back? She said, we start back in August. Which I'm kind of giving away what she does, but still, it's no big deal. But the look on her face, I could see it. And she said her doctor has even told her, you need to leave that job. And I told her, you probably need to follow that advice, because this is the thing. You're putting that job before your health. You're putting that job, it's causing you to eat crazy at night because you like, she said, stress, comfort food is her, stress reliever. I said, you're killing yourself.
Yeah.
And guess what? To your point, if her funeral comes up, they may flag at half staff for a day or two, right?
Maybe. They might send a plant to your
They
family.
might.
You get down on Monday. By Friday, they got your job posted.
That part.
It's not, I think we've been conditioned. And when I say we, I just mean people.
Yes.
I can even trail it down a little bit further to say Black people have been conditioned to think we've got to stay at a job as long as our parents have stayed at a job. My parents have stayed at jobs 40 plus years, enduring whatever they endured. They didn't tell us because we were kids, right?
Right.
And now I've always said my parents' generation, their mental health isn't what it could have been.
That's right.
Because they let a lot of things happen and they didn't know how to process that part. So then it kind of trickles to us. And now we're in a stage of, do I choose mental health over needing to have a job? I want to eat tomorrow, right?
Right.
So we have to figure out which one is more important. But like I said, thankfully, my support system, some people don't have that. I know I was blessed.
That's true. Right.
I know I was blessed because who says, hey, for X amount of months, come and live with me? You don't have to pay a thing, right? My friends were there to encourage me. My partner was there to lift me and motivate me and say what needed to be said. My parents were there to just be encouraged. Like, I literally had the support system I needed to get me here. Because if I didn't have them,
you wouldn't have, and your support system even helped you to know it was time to do something different. So I'm gonna move us forward in a moment, but I can't leave that point you said, because sometimes the support system can help us. But I'm gonna say this though, Dr. Watson, sometimes we think we have to have everything in place to lead. Yes, you had that support system, but I love what Oprah Winfrey has said, and it stays with me. What we have to know is what our next right move is. And sometimes the next right move may not have the whole stairwell in place. It may be, hey, I know how I'm going to make it through this month and the next month, but what we always have to understand is there's a higher power at play that is going to help us through. So if our stress levels are at the place where we can't, and I'm not saying to folks, please don't think I'm saying go to your job tomorrow if you're stressed out. I'm not saying that. I'm saying you can start putting little plans into place so that you can position yourself to be able to do that. And even if you have to stay, some of the interim steps you can take are either adjusting your work schedule, and you don't have to make big announcements to do that, but making sure that throughout the day you're taking those breathing moments or stepping away from the job, going for walks, things like that, to save yourself while you're working your way out. But, understand that if you don't have a whole family and all of that to say, hey, I can rely on them. A lot of times, again, if we think about our transferable options, there are other ways that we can find our way out of high stress situations or jobs that are just going absolutely nowhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So last thing I want to talk about right quick. So you're at now Vanderbilt University. Welcome to Nashville. Because you are not a Nashvilleian. You're from Arkansas, correct?
Correct. By the way, of Louisiana. So I'm a split in between Arkansas and Louisiana. So I'm still a Southern girl, though.
Okay, Southern girl, but and you've been in Nashville since February? Is it?
February.
February.
January. I moved in January. I started at Vanderbilt in February.
Okay, great. Okay, yes. So, just tell us quickly, how's it going? How's the new job, and how are you loving Nashville?
So let's start with what you said first. The job has been great for me. Still in the learning process. being able to work with three other amazing women on the team, and then having the team of other facilitators,
Yes.
supporters, researchers that are within our department have been amazing to work with. I miss my students, don't get me wrong, but being able to still do a love of learning, being able to work with physicians and help them see how they can better themselves, that it's a ripple effect and it takes one person and it'll trickle down to the next, is very rewarding, it's very beneficial. I love Nashville. Coming from a small little city like Marshall that did only have one Walmart, two main restaurants,
Wow.
we didn't have anything, right?
Wow.
We didn't have
Amen.
anything. But just being able to see the different cultures in this city, being able
Yes.
to just go out if I want to, meet new people, just try
Yes.
different things has been really amazing, right? If I was in Marshall, I would have never been able to do something like a HBCU panel.
Right.
So being able to do things like that, meet individuals, amazing people
Mm-hmm.
like you,
Mm-hmm.
is great. It has afforded me some really good opportunities thus far. So I'm very excited to be in Nashville.
Good, good. That's excellent. So you said you miss your students. So as an instructor in medicine, you don't see students?
So it's a little different. I work
Okay.
on the medical center side, who
Okay.
also still has the School of Medicine housed within that because it's the medical school, right? They're still going through um, medical school.
Right.
So I don't necessarily teach students at Vanderbilt. I teach physicians, professional development. And so it's a little different. It's a little different, right? Because when you hear
Okay.
instructor in medicine, you think, oh, students. But I deal with physicians and professional
Oh,
development. But God is still good because I still teach a course at Wiley.
okay.
I
Oh,
am,
nice.
yeah. So I'm an online instructor at Wiley. I'm an adjunct professor there, and so I still have the opportunity to still engage with students, doing a little bit of creating a different type of curriculum for the
Right.
course, to do something totally different for the students that are coming in the fall. So yeah.
Okay, that is outstanding. So I gotta hit this one before I leave. I thought we were gonna be able to wrap up, Lord. This is almost an hour, but this is such good conversation. Last thing, so you said professional development, which is of course our area here. What professional development do you facilitate?
So we look at distressed physicians.
Okay,
We talk about, you mentioned EQ, so emotional intelligence, positive
right,
intelligence. We use something called just different techniques to kind of help them when they're flooding, to kind of help them get to a more calm state, to figure out how to deposit more positive um, energy into those that they work with, and kind of figure out how to get the things that they need in order not to flood. Also teach a course, or a co-teach a course, when physicians are prescribing too many narcotics, or there may be an issue with that. We kind of help them figure out best ways, and what's out there for them to know as it pertains to prescribing narcotics. And then sexual boundaries, or just boundaries at work. If they violate some type of
wow,
boundary, we help them to figure out, where the boundary may have been crossed, how to ensure that they don't do that, and then skills and techniques to move them forward to be more beneficial in their job. So
that
those are
is
the two areas.
outstanding. So
Yeah.
when you say flooding, does that mean flooded in terms of their emotional? They're like mentally. Oh, so are these classes
Well,
mandatory?
so when we talk about flooding, everybody basically floods. It's how in which you do it at the time, how you control it. Um, there's an individual, Victor Frankl, that basically
Yeah,
said in between this point and this point there's a space, a
right,
stimulus that allows you to figure out, to choose how you want to respond. There's
right.
growth, there's truth in that moment, and you have to decide how to do that. And so we're basically letting them know, like, anger is a normal emotion, right?
Right,
No, everybody gets angry, that's normal. How you handle the anger that comes out is where the issue comes in,
right.
right? And so just
Yes.
giving them techniques that they can do. So when they feel like they're flooding, they feel like they're flustered and they're just really getting enraged. How do you calm yourself to a point where you're able to either get out of the situation and then assess it later, get coaching, do mentoring, whatever you need to get you to that point. We try to give them the techniques to do that. And so
Okay.
it's very beneficial, right? You'll see them on one day and it's like,
Yes.
by the end of the course, that light bulb has clicked.
It's
And
gone
you
on.
can see that
Okay.
they want to make the change. For some individuals, it is mandated. For some, it's not. It just
Okay.
depends. It's a case by case basis.
Okay.
If
That
an
is
individual comes-
outstanding. I mean, this is another like bonus to this. That's fantastic. That is such great work. And I know that people in the medical field need this. I'm just gonna share this one quick thing, then I'm out. We definitely are out. So because I dated somebody who was a doctor, he was an emergency room doctor, Dr. Watson. Oh my goodness. You could tell that he was emotionally spent. And because he had been through it for so many years, I don't even know, at least over 15 years at least when I knew him. His shutdown when he came home was just, and he lived in Maryland. So when I said came home, like we would talk on the phone and he just didn't have anything left because that whole environment had just spent him. And so I know just from that little experience with him that, yes, what you were talking about is very needed. He didn't necessarily have anger issues, but he had, where I say sometimes people aren't aware that they've shut their emotions totally off. Because like you said, anger it's a part of who we are, just like happiness and all of these other things are. So if we shut off joy and if we shut off anger and we just are like a flat line, right? Emotionally, that's not good either. So yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's good. You're doing great work. You're doing very great work. And thank you so much. Was there anything else that you wanted to share before we close to just, help people as they're leading themselves or leading others through times of stress? And then I saw also you wrote a book. Did you write a book?
I did.
Okay, I
Back
didn't
in
know that.
2014. Yep. Shattered but not broken.
Okay, because I know we talked about you were going to write another one kind of about this experience eventually as
Yeah.
well.
So I've
Okay.
definitely been thinking about writing a devotional for women who are experiencing burnout.
Yes.
To kind of help them move along, to kind of just get them something that keeps them motivated throughout the day. And so I just say for any individual, man, woman, boy, girl, stay with it, right? Don't give up, because a period is final. A
Right.
semicolon is a pause, and it allows you to move to the next phase of life, to continue with whatever it is God has put in you. Don't allow a job, a relationship, financial burdens to keep you from doing whatever it is that God has put in your heart to do.
Right.
I encourage everyone just to follow your passion, follow your dreams, know that you are enough.
Yes.
And when you feel, even if you don't know what burnout feels like, if you feel that you're changing, take a step back.
Yep.
Right? Take a step back. It's okay to get a therapist. It's okay to take a break.
Yep. That's right.
Breaking is okay.
Mm-hmm.
You quit and you end it all, you don't get sometimes you don't get an opportunity to come back from that. So
That's
take
so
a
true.
break. Okay.
Yep.
And someone's always here for you, right?
Yep.
I just encourage each person just to continue on your walk, do the best
Yep.
that you can.
That's true. Yes, that's great. Good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you so much for being here today, Dr. Watson. It has been my honor. You are definitely a leading lady, and I'm so glad that our paths crossed because I believe in divine order. So that Saturday was not for just, it was a great day anyway, but it was for more than that. So, and I'm grateful for you. So don't leave because I think this thing has to upload and everything at the end. Everybody, please make sure to check out the Leaders Lounge and the World Class Training Institute for all of your leadership and professional development needs that are not a part of Vanderbilt's outstanding.
You need us.
Doctor series, right? Exactly. But if you are a physician, Check Dr. Watson out. Yes, call, because what you all do is life changing, and it's beyond the position. It's about helping people to get through this thing called life. And yes,
Amen.
so very good work. So, do you have a number? Can they call you from the outside?
Of course, of
Okay,
course.
what is the number?
So you can always reach our office at 615-938-0678.
Okay, say it one more time.
615-938-0678. And if you just need to reach me, I'm 0674.
615-938-0378.
0678.
0678. I'm just gonna put it up here right quick. And banner, I think I can put it at the top. Let's see here. Show. Yep, there it is. Okay, so yes, if you are, now you have to be a Vanderbilt University employee, is that correct?
No, you do not.
Oh, okay.
So you just need to be a physician. Now there is a fee.
Okay.
So it's not that we provide free services, but it's worth every penny. I promise.
I'm sure it is. So physicians, if you are, let me just edit this right quick. What is it called? Is it called medicine?
So we are at the Center for Professional Health.
Center for Professional Health.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so you can be from anywhere around the world. You could be in Portland. You could be in Washington, D.C. You could be in Miami, Florida. It doesn't matter. You can be anywhere.
Wow.
Yep.
That is great to know. All right. So here's the number, everybody, 615-938-0678 for the Center for Professional Health inside of Vanderbilt University. If you are a physician and you want or desire, if you need or desire to have this training to help you to cope with flooding, to help you cope with dealing with the trigger of either anger or working through, balancing yourself emotionally as a physician. And if you need to help me with some of the things that I'm saying, please do. Please reach out, because you need this. And the better that our physicians are, the better you can be for us as patients. And we need y'all to be your absolute best when you take us under the knife.
And Don, I would like to also add, we offer CME credits,
Okay.
continuing medical education credits. So there are some physicians that need those things. So if
Yes.
you need it, you're mandated by your state board that you need to get these classes, please feel free to reach out to us. And we can definitely get you the help that you need.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. I'm so glad we put that out there as well. So yes, but stay right there, because I think we have to make sure this is uploaded afterwards. But everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We are going to have this series for the rest of this month, which is Juneteenth is the Freedom Month. Of course, Juneteenth is, when is it? November the 19th? And November 19th, June 19th, June 19th, but we celebrate freedom all this month. And we're going to have leading ladies. I may have a gentleman, but definitely leading ladies this month because we want to celebrate the power of African-American women who are doing great things and just leading in so many different arenas. So again, thank you so much, Dr. Watson, for joining us today.
And it's Tina. Just call me
Tina. Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Tina. And we will see you all next time on the Leaders Lounge.